Hey, what's up guys, Ryan here. Welcome back to another tutorial, and today we're taking a look at the Mannequin challenge, or matrix effect, or time freeze effect, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, this is the last shot that we're breaking down for this wedding trailer that I did. We're going to be looking at some After Effects and Cinema 4D, so let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, cool. So here we are, and this is kind of getting towards the final look of everything. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to solo this footage to kind of show you what we have here. And so I'll kind of just solo this footage to show you what we have here, and we'll work our way back from there. So basically what we have here is some footage where my wife and I, with our awesome guns and double chins, am I right? So awkward. I gotta get to the gym. Okay, anyways. Oh, that was a little awkward, a little embarrassing. Anyway, so here we go. What we did is we stood really still, and we're in the parking lot of this parking garage. And what we did is we stayed really still, and my buddy is hanging out the window with the DSLR rotating around us. So, you know, we kind of have the slide back like the guns are going off, but technically I think that means they might be empty. I don't know. Someone can correct me on that. And we're just standing really still as the car drives around our awesome acting or something. Double chin. Okay, so let's go ahead and, you know, back when I originally did this 5 years ago, I did the 3D tracking and Synthize because that's all I had available. But now that we have the camera tracker, let's go ahead and get a 3D track on this so we can start getting some points of where we're going to add in our muzzle flares and our bullets and our bullet trails and everything. So easiest way to do that is just right click this guy, and let's go ahead and track the camera. Right now it's saying it's going to ignore the effects because I already have a little bit of a curves adjustment on this, and that's okay. So here we go. We'll analyze this clip and we'll come back when it's done. All right, cool, here we go. So we got some tracking points on us, and you know, we kind of got our camera going here. So basically what I'm going to do now is just sort of cherry pick some points. I know I'm going to add stuff, and we'll get a camera generated from it and bring it into Cinema 4D. So, you know, we got this point right here on the gun, so that's awesome. Let's create a null on the camera for that guy. And let's get as close as we can to the gun right here. We'll create a null right there. So we got our two nulls in place. And this is kind of what we'll base our muzzle flashes off of. Let's see, let me go back to the clip and select our camera tracker. Let's see if we can get something close to the other gun. So we might have to fake this one a little bit, but we could start getting a null here. And so what I'm going to do, since I have my camera and my nulls, let's go ahead and go to the top view real quick. All right, cool. And so what we're looking at here is I'm just kind of moving, you know, using the camera tools to sort of look at our scene and reposition it. And what we see is we kind of got our three null objects in there in our scene with our camera. So let's go back out, and again, let's select our main footage layer. And kind of what I did for the last one is I just sort of picked a few more points and, you know, just generated a bunch of null objects. So now that we kind of got that workflow out of the way, and, you know, we kind of know what points we want to work with, we're going to put our muzzle flashes in here eventually and stuff. Let's go ahead and, with all our track points, imagine you made a bunch more track points. We would select everything. Let's go to Export and Cinema 4D Exporter. And this is going to be our freeze time. And we're just going to save that, export it. And let's go ahead and jump into Cinema 4D and start creating some bullets and the, you know, the little bullet trails. All right, cool. So here we are in Cinema 4D. This was the project file I used before. And instead of building stuff from scratch, I'll just kind of break it down and show you how I did it. So the first thing I wanted to do is let's bring the footage back in. So what I actually did is, you know, I'll just go ahead and show you real quick, is I went ahead and I took my footage and I made a JPEG sequence out of it from the points that I tracked. I'll show you why I did JPEG sequence here in a second. So what I'll do is I'll make a new material. I have a background up here. let's go ahead and open up this material and let's put in a texture here. And what I have is my frozen time comp here in frames. I don't need to make a copy of it. And so right now we have our shot in the frame here, but the issue is it's not really moving in the background. So there's a couple of tricks you gotta do to get your textures to animate if you have on a background like this. So let's go ahead and open it up. And I'm gonna go ahead and go into the animation tab here. And right now we're gonna set the mode to simple. Timing is exact second. 30 frames per second, let's calculate that. And so if I click here and I hit animate, we'll see that our texture animates. Let's go ahead and close that, but what might happen is it's still not moving in the background when we press play. So the last thing you gotta do is open the material up again, go in the editor, and make sure you have animate preview on. So let's go ahead and start from the first frame. And there we go. You know, we got our data in there, we got our background in there, and we're starting to be able to get going here. So basically the next step I did is here's my scene and all my nulls exported from After Effects. And right now I have them turned off. So let's go ahead and let's go to our filter here and turn on our nulls. Oh, right at the top there. And so what you see is I went ahead and I made all of our tracking points from After Effects circles. So to do that, all I have to do is go into the object panel here, go ahead and select circle. And I did just a select few. I didn't need all of them, but if you want more points of reference, there you go. You got your tracking markers. So what I did from there is I went ahead and I kind of selected these few to get the idea of where I wanted these bullet trails. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these bullet trails. I'm just going to get on my camera here for a second. Yeah, and I also made a quick bullet, nothing special. Just put a little bit of a bronze texture on it, but it got color corrected anyway. So pretty simple idea there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this vapor trail. And all the vapor trail is, if I turn off this cloner, is I made a series, and I can take the texture off here real quick too. Is all I did is I made a series of toruses. They're all just kind of different, widths to kind of get this, sort of weird oval look. And then I put all those in a null, put that inside of a cloner, and I cloned it out. I cloned it out in linear mode and just sort of brought it out a nice long streak up until the bullet. So let's jump back into the camera real quick. And let's sort of move back to this effect. So this distortion effect, this bullet trail is coming out of my gun. So if I kind of bring it back, you'll see where the bullet trail was. And once I made that, the material that I put on it is just this glassy sort of, just this clear glass preset from the Grayscale Gorilla textures pack. And I threw that onto my vapor trail, and we kind of got this little transparent trail going on. So all I did is once I had the bullet and this vapor trail, I just duplicated it out, put it in 3D space, and had some going towards me, and then I had the ones going away from where we made those nulls in After Effects where we're going to add our muzzle flares. So cool, we got one coming out of this little MP4 style gun. I added some in here, so we got some of this parallax going on. And I mean, there's so many bullets coming at me, there's no way we would survive this. But hey, it looks cool. Need to do a little bit of roto on this back one, stuff like that. But yeah, no problem at all. So kind of the last step I did is let's go ahead and turn off the background and do a quick little preview. The clear glass material is going to take a little bit to render because the scene is also being lit with an HDRI. And for that HDRI, all I did is use the HDR Studio rig from Grayscale Gorilla, or you can just throw in a quick sky or physical sky and throw an HDR texture on top of that to light the bullet material. And transparent materials always kind of take a little bit to render, so kind of be aware of that and adjust accordingly. All right, cool. So once I kind of got those vapor trails going, I added a compositing tag on each of them. So we have an object buffer tag. I set this to 2. And in our render settings, we have our normal render, which is a TIFF sequence. We have our multipass settings. And, probably going back now, I would just do PNG since the file size are so much smaller. And then our multipass, we have our object buffer, which the object buffer will be as many vapor trails in here as we want. Cool. So I have these all separated out, and we'll jump into After Effects again to show you why I separated those out. And let's keep going. All right, cool. So I'm just going to delete this old stuff for now. And let's go ahead and start looking at all these layers. So what I did is once I kind of extracted these null objects from the camera is I started adding just 2D muzzle flashes in 3D space. And this is just from the Action Essential pack from Video Copilot. And what these layers on top is a little bit of roto. But basically all we have here is we just have a combination of muzzle flash, a little bit of smoke. They're just made as freeze frames from the footage, so everything kind of stands in time. So I did a few more muzzle flares. All right, cool. And so let's take a look at these real quick. One of the things that helps with these muzzle flashes as we're going around it, if you don't want it to look too two-dimensional, is these are all duplicated about 3 times and sort of just turned a little bit to the side. So let's go to our top view here. And I'm just using the camera tools here to navigate my scene. I'll kind of pan out here a little bit. Let's go full screen, and let's just kind of find where these layers are. All right, cool. So our scene is actually pretty big here. So let's go ahead and just sort of look at all these. And so what's happening here is we have 3 separate muzzle flares all tilted a different way. And instead of the top view, let's go to the custom view. And so these are all offset just a little bit to kind of give it that parallax, that extra, sort of more 3-dimensional look as you rotate around it. Cool. So let's go back to our original camera here. Let's kind of get everything situated again, and let's keep looking at these layers. So once we kind of got the muzzle flashes in there, want to start adding the bullet trails. So what I did is let's go ahead and get some, it might be hard to see, let's go full screen. I did separate these bullets out by themselves. So we have a couple little bullets in there, might not even need it. And here we added the vapor trails. So if I take all these effects off, we have our vapor trails in the scene, and they're very subtle. It's nothing too crazy. So we have a little bit of an overlay set to it. We kind of tint it, did a little bit of levels, curves, gave it a little bit of a camera blur. So that's how we kind of got our vapor trails going in there. And let's go ahead and look at these atmosphere layers. And so again, atmosphere is just from Video Copilot. It's just a little bit of this dust. And I froze it, made a still frame of that as well. And just like what we did with the muzzle flares, these are kind of just peppered in areas that go in front of the camera. So it kind of gives us a little bit of that smoky look in front of the camera. So something's kind of passing in front of it. And again, it's super subtle, but you'll see a little bit of like right here, a little bit of smoke that goes through and just kind of helps, give that frozen time effect a little bit of extra boost. And let's kind of look at the top layer at these again. So let me go to my top camera. And so what you have right here is these layers kind of making this arc where the camera goes are those atmosphere layers right in front. And they're kind of turning on and off because you don't want to see them, turn and give away their 2D position when they go into the background. So we got this little arc of atmosphere kind of going in front of the camera, getting that smoky haze. And sort of the last things that kind of help it is I had to do a little bit of roto for when muzzle flares go behind foreground objects. So if we go ahead and look at my hands, for example, there's a quick little transition here from when the muzzle flares are in front to where this hand starts to cover the one in the background. So, obviously you want to keep in mind those normal sort of perspective things that happen. And so here's kind of the last effect I'll leave you with that sort of pulls everything all together, is once you have the muzzle flares and the bullet trails all together, this is kind of the final touch that sort of gives it a little bit of that final look. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit right to where, this little vapor trail goes in front of my wife, Rachel. And so what you want to do is take the camera, take the muzzle flares, take the vapor trails, and go ahead and duplicate all that and pre-comp it. And what we have in here, once everything gets inside there, is a black and white representation of all these moving parts. So we got our vapor trails, our muzzle flashes, and this is why we kind of broke it out separately, even though we could probably get away with using the same render. But the reason it's important to have our white on black is we're going to use it as a displacement map to kind of finish everything off. So I went ahead and I titled this Frozen Time Displacement, and here we have our displacement map. So let's fast forward again right before this vapor trail goes in front of Rachel here. And what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead. I'm just going to add a new displacement map so we can kind of see how this works. Add a new displacement map, and all of a sudden we got some things happening here. And so what we want to do for our displacement layer, we're going to use that displacement comp that we just used and put all those elements inside. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select the displacement layer. We got tons of layers here, but we're going to do layer 16 bullet displace. And so what it's doing right now is it's reading those black and white values and adjusting accordingly. So we don't really want these crazy values. I originally had something like 7 and 7. And so now when we kind of scroll through, we get that sort of bulging, warping effect that's happening underneath the vapor trails and the muzzle flares. So if I kind of come out here, we can see that our muzzle flares, our vapor is bending this. We could even increase this if you want. You don't want to make it too crazy. But, if I turn the displacement off, we lose a little bit. I'm kind of looking mainly at these lines right here. So we kind of just take a look at these parking lines. And you kind of got to finesse this to sort of see what values help you the most. But we got these nice little line distortion going on. And when it's all said and done, I did the typical, went ahead and pre-comped everything. Let's bring in our sweet aspect bars, fit those to the comp. Position this down a little bit, and we'll do our down and dirty Phoenix Crush preset again to get a quick little high contrast look. Something like that. Maybe boost those blues, or we can boost the green a little bit to give it sort of that matrix effect. And there we go. We got our mannequin effect with bullets. Awesome, guys. So there we go. I hope that helps out with your projects if you need to do this effect. I'm also I think I'm going to post a poll. To kind of see what you guys want to see next. Do you want to see some motion graphics, some visual effects? You want to talk about gear? I don't know. Subscribe if you want to see that. We got more stuff coming away. I've been live streaming because we're working on a short film coming out where we're going to break down some of those visual effects as well. So again, subscribe or tune into that live stream if you want to see that. And as always, have an awesome Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Have a great one.